Hello. Today I'm going to tie for you a Heptagenia or a stone clinger nymph. Um, it's a little guy. It's kind of more to show you a cool way to make the profile. So I'll show you in a second here. We're going to do this one on a size 20. A lot of these are pretty small. These are generic lively legs, a pattern that I put together myself and cut out on a Cricut tool. I have the SVG file if anyone's interested. Going to use pheasant tail for the abdomen. And here's a little illustration of that trick. So this is three segments of monofilament side by side. We're going to warm them up with a lighter, kind of let them ball up and glue themselves together, melt themselves together. So I use some rabbit fur for the thorax, and we're going to use this tan thread to hold it all together. So we've got that hook in the vise. We'll get the thread started up here right behind the eye. And here again, I'll probably make this look harder than it is. There aren't that many materials. And I was out on a freestone stream recently. It was kind of the only river within 2 hours of me that was not um, over its banks. So I'm there and I looked down after about 20 minutes and I saw one of these little guys crawling up the outside of my waders. And so I kind of switched. That was how to crack the code. It had nothing to do with me or any secrets or experience I have. I just happened to look down and see what was crawling around, and probably there were a few of them that got dislodged during the high water, and that's what the trout wanted. So that stream has a combination of some stock trout and some natural reproduction. So there you saw I tied that set of Cricut legs, we'll call them, in by that little, it's a tie-in tab left there on purpose, and I tied them facing forward. We're gonna do, I like to do 4 or 5 tails. 3 tails kind of look too skinny to me. I guess fish have better eyesight than I do, and if you just use 3 tails, but my other experience is that the pheasant tail, especially if you put that first wrap on pretty tight, it tends to wear off or break off. So we'll put that in, and since we're going to use it for the body, I'm going to double it back. It starts to build a little bit of a taper. And I'm going to go all the way back to the tie-in point for the tail, or where I stopped tying the tail. So here are those eyes. You can see I clipped um, the outside two sections of monofilament off. These ones have a little bend in them that I kind of take care of with pliers later, but um, I flatten them out. And that's why I kind of showed them to you twice. I took them away and kind of flattened them out with the pliers so that they lay in nice. They start to make that triangle shape. I have them where I want them, so we're going to snip off the excess. And I'll put a few more wraps and smooth everything up, kind of make the taper. And I'm going to stop about where, this is where I'm going to stop wrapping the pheasant tail fibers. So it's right behind the thorax. And you can see I'm testing that folding over. And you can see those eyes are kind of cocked up in the air. That's just gravity took over when I was melting them together. So not knowing how much force it'll take to straighten them back out. I end up sneaking in here with a pair of pliers. So give them a little squeeze. And there we go. They're right behind the eye. Nice and flat. They're a little wider than what I want. And in this case, I'm going to wrap that pheasant tail. I'm not going to counter ribbit or anything. And to help hold the eyes in place, I just put a drop of super glue. Get the thread out of the way, use the rotary feature. Careful to miss the hook point. And we'll stop there. That's about the halfway point. I'll block your view a time or two here. And a couple of wraps to hold that, and we'll snip off the excess. You can see this is kind of a pretty easy fly to tie. There's not much room on these little guys, so I'm not sure you could weight it. I end up using this as the upper fly in a double nymph situation. I have a nice big perdigon, maybe a 4.0 millimeter bead to pull these guys down, and then somewhere about a foot above it, I left the dropper tag and put this guy on. So that's some rabbit fur dubbing, and I wrapped about halfway back, and I left the thread sit just in front of, still in the rabbit dubbing, and that's where I'm going to tie this off. And this is kind of magic, and I could play with this a little bit, maybe a little more dubbing, make this a little wider so that it doesn't want to wrap the thin skin around the body. Now you could just as easily use a little triangle of thin skin and put some legs on with hackle, or have some feather fibers sticking out each side, however you want to do that. But it was all about melting those three segments of monofilament together. So I'm going to sneak in here. One thing I should have matched that, or should have mentioned, was that thread. I wanted it to match the dubbing more than anything else, so that it doesn't show up much on the bottom. Sorry about the fingers and hands. But I want to blend it in on top a little bit, so I'll come in, just touch it with a marker, and it'll soak in and darken that thread up top. And a little drop of head cement across the top. Sally Hansen's in this case. And you can see that as we rotate that, that's the profile. That's what I was after. And like I said, it kind of fooled the fish. So here I am. I'm just kind of getting that bodkin in there and getting under all three legs back in close and giving them a little pull just to flatten them out after wrapping with the thread. I like it. The fish liked it. Maybe this helps you out. Maybe you use that little technique with the monofilament. I saw it on the internet. It's not my own, and thought of this use for it right away. So maybe you'll make better use of it or incorporate that into other patterns. And there we have a little cluster of them. Those are the 4 I've tied so far recently. So I hope this helps you out. Thanks for sticking with me to the end. If you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. And until next time, be safe.